What's going on, everybody? I am Ben with the BTC Sessions. I am currently traveling around Italy for the next month and a little bit, but hey, we're still making the news show happening. Nico is sending in his top news stories from across the pond, and I'm going to be filling you in on the tech updates and the things that I love to cover. So we are, although not doing it live, we're still doing it, and we'll be doing it for the next few weeks until I can reunite with my frosted tip brethren when I get home back to Canada. So stay tuned. We were going to be covering a little bit about Binance Lightning. We're going to be covering a little bit about RFK and his Bitcoin-backed dollar and a whole bunch of other stuff. I am Ben with the BTC Sessions. This is your Simply Session.
HODL the Bitcoin.
Before we dive in, quick shout out to sponsors of the show, HodlHodl.com. If you're buying Bitcoin and you've got a few priorities in mind, like peer-to-peer trading, instant self-custody, and no KYC, HodlHodl is the place to be. Sign in with nothing more than an email address, scroll down, choose a currency, a payment method, and an amount, and start viewing offers immediately. You can also check out their peer-to-peer lending platform, in which nothing is ever rehypothecated. Links are in the show notes down below. Now, if you are stacking non-KYC sats and you want to secure it in some of the best damn hardware on the market, then I can think of no better place to go than CoinKite. I love my Cold Card Mark IV. It's my go-to hardware wallet of choice, and I use a ton of their other stuff, including things like the Tap Signer, the Sats Card, the Block Clog, the Open Dime, and coming really soon, which I'm very excited about, the Cold Card Q1 drops later this year. So if you want to reserve that or pick up any of the other stuff that I mentioned, head to coinkite.com, use code BTC Sessions for 5% off everything in the store. If you're looking to go beyond single sig and dive into multisig, I encourage you to check out Nunchuk.io, namely their Honey Badger assisted multisig setup. The way it works is you set up a multisig wallet on your mobile device very simply. They'll handhold you through everything. It works with things like the Tap Signer, the Cold Card, and a ton of other hardware options. Once it's set up, they will hold one key, you hold the rest in the multisig quorum, and you also get the benefits of baked-in inheritance planning so that your sats get to your next of kin if anything should happen to you. And one of my favorite things about them is they're also no KYC. You don't have to give up your personal information to set this up and have it work for you. So check them out, nunchuk.io. And finally, shout out to Start9, your sovereign computing solution. These guys are killing it. They have devices for every entry level, whether it be just something very simple, entry level and cheap, or whether it be all the way up to what I'm running, which is the Start9 Server Pure, which is an absolute beast of a computer, and you basically can run your entire Bitcoin stack, Bitcoin Core, Lightning, mempool.space, a whole bunch of other stuff. You can host your data, files, passwords, photos. You can also host Nostr relays, Nostr clients, and a ton of other great applications on this thing. And yeah, absolutely awesome. They're knocking it out of the park. Check them out, start9.com. And with that, let's dive into the news.
Yo, welcome to another Simply Sessions. Ben's living large in Italy, so we're going to hold down the news for the week. We got a lot to talk about. First, let's start with Ripple. I mean, this is something that we've been... it's kind of weird because Bitcoiners are, like supposedly they want to separate money from state. They want the government to be smaller, but at the same time, I kind of got this feeling that there's a lot of Bitcoiners that were rooting for Ripple to be deemed a security. I don't know. I come from the other camp, which is like, whether it's a security, whether it's not a security, it's irrelevant to me. That's something the government has to say. I think Bitcoin has the best incentives. It's the best money. Therefore, I think it will win on the free market. It doesn't need help from anyone. But anyways, despite that, I think that this is still kind of a big deal, at least here in the U.S. So Ripple Labs notches landmark win in SEC case against XRP. Goes on to say Ripple Labs did not violate federal securities laws by selling its XRP tokens on public exchanges. The U.S. judge ruled on Thursday, a landmark legal victory for the cryptocurrency industry that sent the value of XRP soaring. XRP was up 75% by late afternoon on Thursday. The ruling was by U.S. District Judge Annalisa Torres and was the first win for a cryptocurrency company in a case brought by the SEC. It goes on to say, while the decision is specific to the facts of the case, it likely will provide ammunition for other crypto firms battling the SEC over whether their products fall under the regulator's jurisdiction. And then I want to read you this part because it wasn't 100% a win. It was a partial win. So goes on to say the SEC won a partial victory as Torres found the company's $728 million of XRP sales to hedge funds and other sophisticated buyers amounted to unregistered sales of securities. Torres ruled that Ripple's marketing aimed at institutional investors made clear the company was, quote, pitching a speculative value proposition for XRP that depended on company efforts to develop the blockchain infrastructure behind the digital asset. She said a jury must decide whether Garlinghouse and Larson aided the company's violation of law and that the defendants cannot argue at trial that they lacked, quote, fair notice that XRP was a cryptocurrency. Quote, the law does not require the SEC to warn all potential violators on an individual or an industry level, she said. So, I mean, again, this is very interesting from a Bitcoiner's perspective. I know that this made quite a big of a splash on Twitter. A lot of people were kind of divided about it. A lot of people are saying like that there wasn't 100% a win. Well, all I gotta say as a Bitcoiner is like, look, whether the government gets involved and basically, chops the metaphorical legs off, some of Bitcoin's competitors or not, I still think Bitcoin's gonna win. But yeah, it's newsworthy for sure. Anyways, on the other front, the largest Bitcoin exchange in the world by volume, Binance, completes integration of Lightning Network for deposits and withdrawals. It goes on to say Binance has completed the integration of Bitcoin on the Lightning Network. Deposits and withdrawals for Bitcoin are now open to Lightning Network, stated the announcement. It goes on to say some users reported unreasonably high Lightning fees when initiating withdrawals. And the reason that this happened, which is the same reason that the Lightning Network was developed in the first place, is there was a high fee environment back in May. Like the fees were really, really high. And when that tends to happen, that spurs innovation on the second layer. So it's crazy. And this is very significant. Whatever you think of Binance, the fact that the largest Bitcoin and shitcoin exchange on planet Earth has just integrated Lightning is a massive fucking deal. Anyways, in other news, RFK Jr., big splash this week. He is in second place in the Democratic presidential primary, trailing Joe Biden. And he said some very interesting things. So he said he unveiled a plan to exempt Bitcoin from capital gains tax when it's converted into US dollars and to begin to back the greenback with, quote, real finite assets such as gold, silver, platinum, and Bitcoin. Quote, backing dollars and U.S. debt obligation with hard assets could help restore strength back to the dollar, rein in inflation, usher in a new era of American financial stability, peace, and prosperity. Quote, the benefits including facilitating innovation and spurring investment, ensuring citizens' privacy, incentivizing ventures to grow their business and tech jobs in the United States rather than in Singapore, Switzerland, Germany, or Portugal. The IRS treats Bitcoin as property and investment rather than a currency, which means it is subject to tax on capital gains. The SEC Commission has also been cracking down on the industry. So it's kind of giving a little bit of a background. But look, at the end of the day, why... like the idea of having to pay capital gains tax because your money is just better money, it increases in purchasing power. And then paying the difference and then you being forced by the government to use a currency that decreases in value over time. I think the fact that this is not only happening in the US where politicians are pushing Bitcoin hard. You have in Canada, Pierre Poilievre. You have Ron DeSantis, governor of state of Florida, on the Republican side, making CBDCs illegal, saying, hey, look, if people want to use cryptocurrencies, so be it. And now you have RFK Jr. literally saying, that, he's going to exempt Bitcoin from capital gains and also, partially back the dollar with Bitcoin. What a crazy world. I believe that I think it's going to be politically unfeasible to not support Bitcoin within the next 5 years. So this is a very, very exciting development. On the other front, I want to talk about Alex Mashinsky. This is the mother effer that basically villainized Bitcoiners for telling people to take self-custody. He got arrested. So Celsius Network's Alex Mashinsky is arrested as SEC, CFTC, FTC sue bankrupt crypto lender. Alex Mashinsky, co-founder and former CEO of insolvent crypto lender Celsius, was arrested in New York on Thursday following an investigation to the company's collapse. Mashinsky and others are charged with 7 counts, including securities fraud, commodities fraud, wire fraud, and conspiracy to manipulate the price of Celsius token. The indictment was accompanied by a slew of separate lawsuits against Mashinsky and Celsius by the SEC, Commodities Future Trading Commission, and Federal Trade Commission. The lending platform filed for bankruptcy in July 2022. Crypto consortium Fahrenheit recently won a bid to acquire its assets. So, I mean, normally I wouldn't cover this, but this guy gave a lot of crap to Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners advocating for self-custody. He gave a tremendous of crap. And I remember like Corey was out there fighting the good fight, exposing this guy, and he was getting so much heat for it. And, I normally would say this is a big nothing burger. Like the Do Kwon guy got arrested. We never covered that. But it's because he specifically attacked Bitcoin maxis, and he's specifically attacked the idea of self-custody, right? This idea of self-custody was somehow harmful and whatever. Well, if you trusted him and you kept your money on what he said was safer than, quote, self-custody, then you got absolutely wrecked, right? So, I mean, justice is served in a way. This guy really did hurt a lot of people. Anyways, on the other side, on the other front, the central bank digital currency Trojan horse officially launched in the US, the Fed now. They say it's not a CBDC, but I'm just suspicious of that just because of the wording coming out of the Treasury, the wording coming out of the Biden administration, basically saying the necessity of having a central bank digital currency, bashing Bitcoin at the same time. And this is all in the hopes of being able to maintain the privilege of creating money for free that everyone else has to work for, right? So it goes on to say the Federal Reserve launched its FedNow instant payment service Thursday, following several years of developing a system officials say will allow the faster flow of cash for businesses and individuals. Whether it's providing instant access to paychecks, allowing for last minute bill payments, or sending government payments out to individuals, that's the freaky part, bro. That's where they put the social credit system in. The system is expected to improve the flow of money through the U.S. economy. Quote, the Federal Reserve built the FedNow service to help make everyday payments over the coming years faster and more convenient. Quote, over time, as more banks choose to use this new tool, the benefits to individuals and businesses will include enabling a person to immediately receive a paycheck or a company to instantly access funds when an invoice is paid. So far, 35 early adopters, including JP Morgan Chase and Wells Fargo, 2 of the 4 largest banks in the U.S. have signed up. There are an additional 16 institutions providing services for banks and credit. The American Bankers Association said it welcomes the FedNow developments, noting that the central bank joins the clearinghouse, which put its payment service online in 2017 as 2 major providers in the space. So, I mean, it's interesting, like the federal government is getting involved in instant payments. I know, Ben, you told me that there's something similar in Canada, this like instant payment system, but make no mistake, I really do believe this is the first iteration of a American central bank digital currency. Now, on the other front, a branch of the Federal Reserve, the Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland, admitted in this research paper the Lightning Network is turning Bitcoin into money. It goes on to say the Lightning Network is a means of netting Bitcoin payments outside the blockchain. We find a significant association between Lightning adoption and reducing blockchain congestion, suggesting that the Lightning Network has improved the efficiency of Bitcoin as means of payments. This improvement cannot be explained by other factors such as changes in demand or the adoption of SegWit. We find mixed evidence on whether increased centralization in the Lightning Network has improved this efficiency. Our findings have implications for the future of cryptocurrency as a means of payment and their environmental footprint. On the other side, it's very interesting. So, they're rolling out this CBDC. They're finally admitting Bitcoin is money. But I think the people that you really have to pay attention to are the U.S. Treasury. right? And they released this paper called The Future of Money and Payments. And there's a section of this paper called Recent Innovations in Money and Payments. And you'll notice something is missing. And I believe the reason that it's missing is the reason that they won't admit Bitcoin as money, because I think that if they admit Bitcoin as money, right, which is why the RFK Jr. thing was so significant, they have to admit that money can exist without inflation. And that's a big problem, because if money can exist without inflation, that means that they can't print it. If they can't print it, they can't pay for they can't deficit spend $1 trillion in the US every year. That's the GDP of that. 1 trillion is higher than the GDP of most countries. Anyways, it goes on to say, recent years have seen innovations in money, US retail and wholesale payments, and cross-border payments. Some of these innovations built an additional user functionality on top of existing payment systems, but two innovations are more fundamental, therefore may have far-reaching implications: instant payment systems and stablecoins. Instant payment systems are an important upgrade to the current payment system. They're talking about Venmo, Cash App, and guess what? Now the FedNow. Stablecoins aspire to be a new form of money supported by novel payments technology. However, stablecoins present a greater number of risks related to their financial and technological characteristics compared to instant payments. Instant payments are okay with because they can co-opt, they can create their own system. That's what the FedNow is. But stablecoins are out of their purview, right? And other existing forms of money and payments, making it more difficult to predict the impact of stablecoins on the future of money and payments. Okay, so this whole paragraph, they do not mention Bitcoin. They don't even mention cryptocurrencies. Can you imagine writing a paper called The Future of Money and Payments and you're completely leaving out the elephant in the room? And I don't believe that's because they're stupid. I believe because they're doing that 100% on purpose. Anyways, guys, this was your Simply Sessions. Ben, enjoy Italy with the fam. I will see you next week. Peace out.
All right, let's go through some of the tech updates that I wanted to keep you guys up on. Up first, Nunchuk Android version 1.9.33, iOS 1.9.28 has been released. What did they do in here? Well, first off, tap signer and software keys are compatible with BIP48. They added the ability to export your transaction in something called raw hex, which means you can broadcast it from anywhere. You don't have to broadcast it from Nunchuk itself. Allows mobile to trigger adding a cold card Trezor ledger via USB on desktop. That's very interesting. That's kind of cool, actually. Minor bug fixes and improvements, and earlier release of Nunchuk also introduced child pays for parent, and actually that's in an upcoming tutorial that I have dropping soon, so keep an eye out for that. There's also a pre-release of Nunchuk desktop version 1.9.20. It contains some other updates like fixing syncing bugs, improving performance, ability to update the inheritance plan and wallet policies, fixing bug signing with cold card NFC on Windows, and a bunch of other stuff. So be sure to check that out. Now, there's an update for Zeus, or rather Zeus version 0.7.7 beta. It's available for testing. Now, this version is not exactly what I'm excited about, but we'll get to that. Anyways, this features, there's some niceties and bug fixes. Before we start pushing out our next major release, this is the part that I wanted to mention, version 0.8, which will feature an embedded Lightning node and wallet and LSP functionality. What does that mean for you? That means that you can effectively, with Zeus Wallet, either link it to your existing Lightning node that you're running, perhaps on Start9 or whatever else you may be running, as I've done and done videos on, or this now becomes a full in-your-pocket Lightning node managed entirely by your phone. And that's going to be awesome. I already love things like Phoenix Wallet and Breeze and kind of what they're doing. But Zeus has been an incredible tool, and to see them kind of widening up what they're doing and starting to do, out of the box, self-sovereign, self-custody Lightning in your pocket, that's going to be massive. I am so excited for that to drop. So keep your eyes out. I mean, this update is not that, but that's coming next. That's the next thing to come out from Zeus. So be ready. Another update here, BitBanana. If you haven't heard this, basically this used to be Zap. It was created by Jack Mallers before he fully started focusing on Strike. But Zap is another a way to manage your Lightning node from mobile on the go, use it as a wallet, so on and so forth. Android app for the Lightning node operators focused on user experience and ease of use. Somebody forked it and basically continued upkeep because Zap wasn't getting any updates. So they added support for long descriptions on LN URL pay, improved QR code, robustness and size, updated Tor geotip data, improved error messages, bug fixes, and updated translations. I played with this a little bit. It's not too bad. I still prefer Zeus. But BitBanana, it's nice to have optionality, and I'd love to see these guys continue to pump out the updates. This is cool. Ostrich.work. It's the first Nostr native jobs board using classifieds NIP, or Nostr Improvement Protocol. Ostrich.work is the first Nostr jobs board on the internet. It's, again, first native jobs board, has a different type of event kind. It's detailed in the classifieds NIP. It's still early, but you can post jobs and browse through jobs. Lots more to come soon. And then a little quote here, jobs, classifieds, you might be wondering how these are the same. It's best to think of classifieds as anything being offered. This can be places to stay, stuff for sale, jobs, places to rent, personal ads, etc. And yes, I've got a few more projects in the space in mind. And yeah, so that's very interesting. Ostrich.work, this is where you can find it. And yeah, there's already some a bunch of jobs up there. I can see Galoy posting some, but yeah, a bunch of stuff. If you're interested, head over. Looks like it's 20,000 sats per job post. And I think you can just log in with your Nostr key. Another thing coming out, HodlHodl, their lend platform. They've had a redesign. They've got new offer pages and improved navigation. And so basically this has a newly designed create and accept offer page on their lend platform. It also includes new sorting options and even better navigation. You can check out their FAQ page to learn more about its lending platform. Anyways, it was already super slick, but I guess they've just kind of fine-tuned it. Side note, I will be doing a video on Lend. I realized that I actually never covered it. I covered HodlHodl to buy and sell sats, but I've never done the lending platform. I've used it myself, but I've not done a video. So that'll be coming as well. And in the same vein as HodlHodl, these are the guys that put on Baltic Honey Badger, and they just announced that Nostr is one of the main topics at this year's Baltic Honey Badger edition. Workshops, presentations, panels, and parties with Nostr devs and contributors, Rockstar, Derek Moss, UX Eric, and Nostr Design, and more to be announced. If you're in the area, I would highly recommend you check out Baltic Honey Badger. It is one of the best conferences out there. I unfortunately cannot be there this year. I would be. It's my daughter's first day at a new school, and priorities. You got to be there for family for that. But if that was not happening, of course, I would be at Baltic Honey Badger. So if you're looking into that, check it out. It's the beginning of September, and it's going to be an absolute blast. Last thing I wanted to touch on here, Minibits Wallet, mobile eCash wallet with focus on usability. So I signed up to do the testing on this. Hopefully I'll have access to that in the next day, and then I'll do some playing around, maybe eventually do a video once it's accessible to the public. But basically, this is a brand new project. It's a new Cashew mobile wallet with focus on performance and usability. It aims to make eCash UX less technical. It's I won't go too deep into the details here, but I've covered eCash before. I've done so with Cashew and Nutstash were the two examples that I've done, which were both on desktop, or I'd rather just in the browser. It wasn't an actual app. Nonetheless, I played around with it. I think it's super interesting. I like playing with it. I think it's kind of cool. And I will be covering this in the future. Effectively, it's a incredibly private method of sending Bitcoin. However, there is trade-offs in that there's degrees of trust in regards to custody of the coin. So with extreme privacy also comes the trade-off of temporarily giving up custody in one way or another. So of course, just play around with small amounts if you are playing with eCash. It is fun to use, but yeah, don't put any meaningful amount into really any eCash wallet at this time. And with that, that's pretty much all I have in terms of the news. Couple announcements on my end though. So earlier at the beginning of the week, I dropped a new tutorial, and this was me migrating from my old Start9 Embassy 1 to my new Start9 Server Pro. And this thing is crazy. It's like 4 terabyte hard drive, 32 gigs of RAM. It's an Intel i7. Everything is as meaningfully open source as it can be, even to the point where the Intel management system has been disabled and everything's as open and auditable as it can be. Yeah, it's hella fast and everything. The video was the migration process of getting my data from my old device into the new device, which actually was very, very quick. If you're curious about that, go and check it out. It is on YouTube as well. And then I also, a little bit out of order this week, just because of timing and time zones and everything, I am traveling around right now in Italy. And so this has allowed me to have more European guests. So if you didn't catch Why Are We Bullish Friday evening this week, well, that's because if you're stateside, it wasn't Friday evening. It was actually Friday morning. It was evening for me, but not for you. And that's just, again, I'm like 8 hours ahead of my typical time zone. Anyways, I had Knut Svanholm, I had Nico Jilch, and I also had Prince Philip of Serbia, and it was a good time. The signal over here on the Amalfi Coast where I am right now, the internet is not fantastic, so I had a little bit of delay with my camera from time to time. But hey, we did it live. We made it happen, and it was a good time nonetheless. So go back, check that out, and keep watching in the coming weeks. I've got a lot more European guests that I typically wouldn't be able to get on if I wasn't over here. So very excited for that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, please do like, subscribe, share. You can also hit up the previously mentioned sponsors down below, HodlHodl, CoinKite, Nunchuk, and Start9. If you really liked what you saw, head over to my website, btcsessions.ca. There's a whole bunch of free information there. You can also book me for one-on-one private sessions, which, side note, while I'm over here in Europe, you may be able to get better time zones on those bookings. I have select days that I'm available. And finally, if you really, really liked what you saw, just scroll down a little bit on my website, and there's an LN URL. You can send sats directly there, or you can click on it and it'll head you over to my Geyser Fund page, and there you can actually leave comments as well as drop sats. And shout out to those that do send over the occasional sats. I really appreciate those, and I more so appreciate being able to read your comments and everything. I love seeing them. So thanks a lot, guys. I am out. Have yourselves a wonderful day or evening, and I'll see you guys next time for your daily session.
HodlHodl Bitcoin.